Hey Sean, did you guys come out of the game with any injuries?
No, we actually came out clean. A couple guys just banged up here and there, but no new injuries from the game, which is a good thing.
With Puka, I know this offseason we talked about how you don't want to take away how physical he plays because that's was part of what makes him so good. Do you have conversations with him at all about some of the hits he's taking in the game, specifically the touchdown? I know it was just how he fell on the ball, but it looked kind of like he was worried about it from down there.
Yeah, I think we were all worried. I think what we've talked about is just some of the things that have come up really during practice settings, and not beating the ground up so hard sometimes when he falls. But I don't think you want to take away his edge, his competitiveness. I think you want him to really understand, the risk reward. But I don't know that he makes that amazing catch if he doesn't have to come down on the ball like that. So. Fortunately, he's doing okay. He's a stud, but you do talk about those things. But I think it's a fine line when you got to make full speed decisions, and so many of those decisions that occur happen so quickly that it's more instincts than anything else. And you don't want to take away one of his elite traits. You just want to continue to educate him on taking care of his body, and then in some of the practice settings, understanding the give and take of where we can maybe be smart with some decisions that leave you susceptible to those types of collisions or things of that nature.
And then when you watched the tape back and you looked at the offensive line, what did you think about the group that you had out there?
Yeah, I thought they did a good job. I thought we did a pretty good job. There was a couple early down stunts that we can pass off better, but I thought the pass pro was pretty good. Kept Matthew clean. They did a couple things blitz wise that I thought we handled pretty well, especially as the game went on. Thought we did get some good efficient runs. I think we can continue to do a good job of just even improving overall there. But I was pleased with the group. I thought it was a positive step in the right direction for sure.
And then do you expect to have Rob back on Sunday?
There's a possibility. I think, he's trending in the right direction. So we'll take it a day at a time. He's one of those guys, like we've talked about with some of these veterans. He really understands his body. But I know he's chomping at the bit to get back out there, and he's going to do everything in his power to do that. We just want to make sure that he's ready to go, but he's trending in that being a possibility.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stu, Son, I know you guys have been rotating quite a bit at the tight end position and trying some different things there, but within the context of that, and I guess Colby Parkinson's role in recent weeks, what was it like seeing him find the end zone and show up in that way for you guys?
Yeah, I was really pleased with him, Stu. I thought he did a nice job. We didn't have many snaps offensively as a whole, but I thought he maximized the ones that he did play. Obviously, it was a great throw and catch by he and Matthew on the touchdown. Thought he did some really good things in the run game. I think he's practiced well. I think Nick Caley's done a great job with that group as a whole, where you've seen improvement from Colby, you've seen Hunter Long, you've seen Davis Allen, and so they're trending in the right direction. I thought Colby did a really good job, and I was proud of Colby yesterday.
And then just as a quick follow up to that, what does that do for the offense when you know somebody with his size and frame shows up like that and can be a friendly target for Matthew in the red area?
It's huge. I think that's been a theme that, we've talked about with you guys a lot throughout this year is, when we're able to finish drives in the red zone, when we're able to, do some things in the run game, a lot of nice things come off of that. And I think that's where he made his positive contributions felt. And so that was big. And it was good for him to be able to see a lot of the work that he's put in pay off with some of the ops that he had yesterday. So that was cool for him.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gary?
Hey, Sean.
Hey.
You mentioned yesterday, you got a red hot team coming to town in the Eagles, and just I mean, Minnesota had been playing well when they came in, but this team was on a 6 game win streak. What kind of challenge or excitement does that, bring for you guys to be facing a team like that?
I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, that's what you love about the NFL. They are red hot. They've played really well. They're finding their identity. They've got great playmakers, coaches, and scheme. So they're checking all the boxes of what really good teams do. And so that's what's a great challenge. I think it is a very similar situation to what you alluded to with our Thursday game earlier in the season. That team was, they had a huge point differential. They were really dominating teams. They had a back and forth battle that came down to the last possession against arguably a team that's playing as good as anybody that led to their first loss. But every game is such a unique thing. And really, we got to be at our best to be able to give ourselves a chance to compete. We got a lot of respect for this group. But these are the moments that you love as a competitor. This is what's the best part about the NFL. I've been really pleased with our group's ability to get themselves back into the fight, winning 4 of 5. There's been different and unique ways that we've done it, but I think there is an element of learning how to be able to finish games and come away with the results you're hunting up with the amount of youth that we have. And they take all these lessons in stride. I think some of the veteran players have done a good job. And I think, I've been really pleased with our coaching staff's ability to be able to figure out, all right, how do we adjust and adapt? And what I am hopeful for that we'll see reflected starting from yesterday and, hopefully it continues on for the rest of the season is that we have some continuity at some of these spots that we haven't where we can kind of start to build on things. Cause I think that's big. That's what you've seen why this team's playing as well as they are. And we love it, Gary. I love it. I'm excited for the challenge, and it's going to be a damn good challenge for sure.
Putting Beaux Limmer back in the lineup, I know he's a rookie and, kind of a thankless on some levels position, doesn't get a lot of attention, but what has he provided, do you think when he's played that's allowed that line to play pretty well?
Yeah, I think what he's done, Gary, is he's gotten better. He's gotten a lot of opportunities to improve in these game settings, in these practice settings. We had so many injuries that started out in training camp and even throughout the offseason that he got a lot of opportunities that otherwise wouldn't necessarily be allotted to a guy in terms of what you said his projected role might be. And he's just answered the bell. He's continuing to learn. There's a lot of communication that's required at that spot. He's continuing to get I think he's got a big picture understanding. The game makes sense to him, Gary. I think he's continuing to improve in his ownership and his command to be able to communicate, but the game does make sense. I think he's sturdy in his lower half. He's strong where he can create removal at the point of attack. And I think he's done a really nice job in protection, being able to, even if a guy gets on an edge, I've been pleased with his competitiveness. He's got a good way about himself and he's just continuing to improve. And so that's what you look for. And I thought he provided some good stability to our line yesterday, and I thought it was a much better performance. It's always about the group. The one thing is it's not about individual operating entities. These are 5 guys that have to work in concert together, especially as it relates to center guard tackle, and across the board based on certain things that come up. And I thought he steadied it, and I thought he did a nice job yesterday, especially against a defense that presents a lot of different things that you have to prepare for, whether that's personnel groupings, front structures, pressure packages, and that they're always a good challenge to prepare for. And I thought he handled it well with a lot of different moving parts.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Adam?
Yeah, Sean, the first 2 weeks when Warren McClendon got some reps, it looked like the game was moving a little fast for him. He took some time now and got another opportunity this last week. What did you see from him on the film?
I thought he did a good job, Adam. I thought he was consistent. It's like anything else. Like I was just saying with Beaux, the more these guys play, if they're wired the right way, the better that they're going to get. They're going to learn from some of the things that you can have opportunities to be able to learn and grow from. You're going to gain some confidence from some of the successful outcomes you have if you understand why that occurred and then how I can continue to replicate those types of things. I thought it was a positive step that he took as it relates to even just coming in for Rob against Seattle. He had there's a handful of plays where he did a nice job. Thought he had a good week of preparation, even though it was on an abbreviated week coming off the Monday night game, and he played well. And I thought, there's always going to be, when you look at those guys up front, there's always going to be learning opportunities. But I think he's able to self-correct. I think he's able to understand why things don't always go the way we want. And then you also see the understanding and the improved techniques and fundamentals as it relates to some of the core plays. And then you say, okay, now this is really starting to make sense. That's a good job. Let's continue to replicate that. So I was proud of Warren yesterday. He did a nice job for us.
I know cohesiveness was the deciding factor in the offensive line decision, but I'm curious if you get the sense that the shoulder is still something that Jonah is working through at this point.
I think it's just getting back into just playing football. I mean, different than, like Steve. Steve at least had an off season and a training camp. Jonah didn't really have any of those things. And so I think, I still have a ton of confidence in the type of player that he is, the type of man he is, the way that he's wired. But I think it's just getting opportunities to play football. It's hard to get better at football without playing it. He just hasn't had a lot of opportunities, not to mention that while there's some similarities, there's some differences in terms of the intricacies of the techniques, the fundamentals that we're asking, getting familiar playing with the guy next to you, whether that be a tackle or a guard, or are you playing center, or are you playing guard? And so I don't think that that's an issue. I think it's more just being able to continue to improve. And and get those opportunities to do that. And I do have a lot of confidence in him that that'll be something that will be obtained.
With the defensive front, we knew coming in with a bunch of first and second year players that it might take a little while for that unit to kind of find its footing. I'm curious your evaluation of how that group has come together now, 10 games into the season.
Yeah, what I've been really pleased with, Adam, is I've seen steady improvement, steady learning opportunities as they've gained experience. I think our coaches, I think Chris, Giff, AC Carter, Joe Caniglia, I think they've done such a great job with that front as a whole. But man, these guys are fun to be around. They're super coachable. They've got an energy and an authenticity with that energy, and they love to compete. And I think they're getting a lot better. I think there's always things that we can learn from. I thought there were some great learning opportunities yesterday as they were able to sustain some drives, and there were some things that New England did that we have to make sure, hey, let's understand what that approach is and how we might need to alter and adjust our understanding and how we need to be able to execute to get off the grass. But whether it's outside or inside, there's been continuous progress made. That's what I always think is the sign of a good team. I think that's a reflection of guys being receptive to the coaching, and I've been really proud and pleased with what those guys have done. They've been a catalyst for why we've been able to turn the ball over as much, why we've been able to put pressure on quarterbacks, and they love it. They love to compete. They love these challenges, and these coaches are doing a hell of a job with them, and it's been fun to kind of just step back and admire and really get excited about where these guys are going, where they're going to continue to go, and what a great opportunity they have against a big-time operation this week.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Jordan.
Hey, Sean, as a typically 11 personnel outfit for the last several years, wondering, I mean, you guys have usually played with a lead tight end. Obviously, Tyler's injury changed a lot of things structurally for you guys this year, but I wonder, in terms of rotation, you're now deploying with all three of those guys. What are some of the factors that led into not just the rotation, but some of the combinations of two of them at once in those 12 looks? And then also, I might be overthinking it, but as part of that, setting the runway and the framework a little bit for when Tyler does return, knowing the role he's played for you guys in the past.
That is a very deep question. No, here's what I would say. I think in its simplest form, Jordan, I think Nick Caley's done a great job of saying, I think we're going to get the best out of this group by playing all of them. And you want to be strategic and specific in terms of putting them in spots to accentuate their skill sets. But I think we're at our best using all three of those guys. And I think they've earned the opportunity to be on the field. There's certain things that you like that Davis can do, that Hunter can do, and that Colby can do. That we want to be able to maximize those opportunities. And in an ideal world, you're saying you're kind of getting those guys a third of those snaps. It didn't quite work out exactly like that yesterday, just because we only had a minimal amount of snaps. But I do think that specific to what are we doing in 12? What's the best combination between two of those three? And then how do we supplement them on the early downs in 11, and then some of the known pass situations? And I think really I got total trust and confidence in Coach Caley. His ability to do what he thinks is best for that group, and that's really what's been reflected. And then certainly we are excited about the opportunity to get Higbee back in the mix. He's just such a stud in so many ways, his leadership, his production, both in the run game and in the pass game. But we'll see, and we'll be excited to welcome him back with open arms, but we don't want to rush him back because of the severity of what that injury was that he sustained.
Thanks. And then understand you're limited in how thoroughly you might be able to answer this two-part question just because of the competitive gamesmanship of things. But can you walk us through some of the pre-snap calculations and adjustments Matthew is able to make specifically with the protections, and more so wondering how it works within the framework of the calls that you're sending and what that collaboration is like for you guys pre-snap?
Yeah, I think you know better. I think you know me well enough, Jordan, that is a great question. That'd be something that I would not want to kind of get too deep into just from a competitive perspective. But I think, ultimately as a player, the most important thing, which is what makes Matthew special, is you've got to have a play. You got to understand, and this really goes for players in general. There's a play, there's an intent. You want to know what's the intent of the play. What are we trying to get done? What are the mechanics at which we need to operate that play? What are the techniques, the fundamentals, the communication? And I think the latter part is the hardest part is, all right, what are the problems that can arise that I might need to solve? And that's protection oriented. And that might be 6-man protection. That might be 5-man protection, 7-man protection. but there are different things that are presented, some of which was absolutely on display yesterday, and some of which we can learn from yesterday with some things that came up. And so our job is to equip the players with the knowledge and the understanding to not just have the capability to follow through with instructions, but the capacity to solve those problems when they do arise. And that's what makes Matthew special. That's what I think is important about being able to have that communication throughout the course of the game, especially because, hey, these other coaches and these other players do a good job. And you have to be willing to adjust and adapt if it's not exactly as what your preparation entailed. And that's probably, I don't know, I know that probably doesn't really answer your question, but that's as good as you're going to get out of me without giving, too much, which I appreciate your understanding in the first place of it.
Yeah, and I totally get that. I'm more so asking because it just seems like that has evolved over time. I know it does year over year, but as you guys have gotten to know each other more and that sort of relationship has deepened between quarterback and coach and knowing what he's capable of.
Sure.
I mean, how is that particular set of, I guess, autonomy and trust grown between you two, but then also that problem solving in those moments grown?
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. Like, repetition is the mother of learning. Well, with experience together comes that repetition. So there's experiences we can draw on or conversations we can have where there's an understanding. I think the cool thing that we've always had a pretty seamless rapport. We've always seen the game through a similar lens. And I think that was an immediate connector between us when we got, together in 21. And so we're thinking a lot of the same things a lot, but most importantly, it's what he's comfortable with. All right. There's a plethora of examples where you're saying, well, we could do all these things, but what are you the most comfortable with? And there might be options when we anticipate things, Jordan, where even though he can't communicate back to me, I say, all right, hey, this is what we're expecting. These are one or two or even three options that we can handle if this does present itself. Give me 1, 2, or 3 in terms of what you want me to attach as a possibility. And he gave you the 1, 2, or 3. I said, hey, well, whichever one you like, that's what we're doing, big boy. And so that's kind of how that goes. But it's like anything else. You're not naive to the fact that he is a rarity in terms of his ownership, his understanding how smart he is and the way he's able to process things. But it has been a fun evolution and through experiences, both, challenging and positive. I think we've gotten more and more on the same page.
Thanks, Sean. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We'll wrap up with Eric.
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
So throughout the course of the game yesterday, anytime on early down specifically, New England was blitzing, but there was one play specifically that stood out to me. The second play of the second half, New England causes 0. Matthew finds Cooper for a 69-yard explosive. Very similar to what Jordan was asking. Can you talk to me about what stands out about Matthew's mindset and cerebral approach to the game and what you admire about it?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's his cerebral approach, his understanding, his ability to react. In that particular instance, I thought it was a good job by, Kyren Williams does a great job stepping up and blocking the inside backer. And we swelled just enough on the right side to be able to delay that 7th player from coming free in a 6-man protection. Matthew recognized the flat back contour. He knew where his quick element throw was going to be. And he delivered a dime to Cooper. And when a guy, plays it from an outside in and you went on an inside breaking route in a 0 blitz, that's out the gate. And so, but he recognized it. He understood based on what they were in, that could be a possibility. And then I think, it's why I say football is the greatest team sport that there is. He had enough time when you're still -1, with the overall protection to be able to take a hitch, allow Cooper to be able to truly cross face to define it. And that's what led to a big time touchdown for us. But that was awesome. And, it's cool because he doesn't need to wait to get to the pictures coming off the sideline to have a lot of that dialogue. So whether it's good things or things that we want to be able to correct, he's able to seamlessly have those conversations and accelerate that process. He's a stud, and that was a big time play by he and Cooper. And I thought the offensive line and Kyren deserve a tremendous amount of credit because they were bringing 7 when we had 6.
And then you already spoke about the defensive line, but one person I want to highlight in particular is Braden Fiske. He's really been coming along these past few weeks. Can you talk to me about the in-season progression you're seeing from him?
Yeah, it's just a cool display of hard work paying off, like Aaron Donald always used to say. This guy's been so consistent. He loves the game. He loves the process. He's competitive as hell. He's super coachable. He's conscientious. He's secure enough to be coached hard. And I think he's continuing to maximize his opportunities. I think we played really well as a front, but you see some of the different things that have really, elevated his play, given him some opportunities to affect and influence the game. And what a huge game-changing play he makes coming around to be able to force the fumble. Kobe Turner does a great job recovering it. And then one play later, Puka's making an amazing catch, and then he's got to go in the tent because the ball crushed him. So Fiske has been awesome, though. He's a stud. Love everything he's about. He's been a major factor the last couple weeks, especially as it relates to affecting and influencing the game from a pressure perspective.
And then another young player that's coming along or who's making momentous strides, Kinchens. Can you talk to me about what you like about his competitiveness?
It's that. I think you see it. You don't have to, you could say, what's this guy about? What's the tape tell me this guy's about? He's competitive. He's tough. I thought he played at a pretty, he felt like he was sometimes playing at a different speed than everyone else yesterday. You can see he doesn't flinch at the point of contact. I thought he made some great open field tackles. He's continuing to get an understanding. He's got great range and great athleticism, but he's continuing to get an understanding of where do I fit within these coverage contours? Where are people trying to attack me? And then it's another game where he ends up making a game-changing play to be able to close it out. And I appreciate his awareness as a young guy to go down and just let us knee it out. I know Rosewood was yelling at him, but he's a stud. I thought he really made his presence felt throughout the course of the game, and the confidence is continuing to grow as he's getting reps. And I think that's a reflection of, again, I think Chris Beek and Aubrey done a great job with Mike Harris, and he's getting more and more confident. He's getting a bunch of reps in practice. And a lot of that practice performance and preparation is starting to equal game reality for these young cats, and it's cool to see.
Appreciate you, Coach. Thank you.
You got it.
Coach, thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.